guys, here we go. We're back. Ruthless Politics, episode number 8, the Ocho, a real channel on ESPN, according to Kid Chronic.
It is a real channel now. Yes. Check it out.
I don't want to. Is it professional dodgeball on there?
No, there is. There's like dodgeball. There's weird games like squirt gun wars. That's a real thing.
Squirt gun wars. Yeah. Professional kickball.
I played in a dodgeball game where we hired the dodgeball ref to actually ref the game from the movie. Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, it was for a charity event. It was pretty
very
good.
Nice. Yeah. Dodgeball, well, these like adult sports things leagues have gotten very, very popular. They become like social events. So it's like
kickball,
sports, and then to the bar or whatever. Yeah, and it's like kickball and dodgeball and, like you said, and squirt gun and
speaking of athletic people, what do you think about our boy Andrew Yang, the yin yang? He's moving up in the ranks.
So let's go. We're going to put it into Epstein. It's been Epstein overload. So,
Epstein will be back, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll be talking about him, I'm sure, in the future. Yeah, so let's talk about fitness, because here's the segue. Andrew Yang making news for himself, talking about fitness, ironically enough, at the Iowa State Fair, where they deep fry butter, and I guess they tried to get him to eat that, and he said, over my dead fucking Asian body would I put deep fried butter in my mouth. And then he took his shot at Trump, because apparently Trump likes deep fried bananas or whatever else junk food he likes. So you're probably a little familiar with this. Then we're going to go and talk about Andrew Yang's situation in this whole Democratic primary, which I think I've told you, I thought he was a dark horse for the longest. I like some of what he has to say. What did he say about Donald Trump being an obese pig or whatever he called him?
Well, I think that what happened is they were talking to Andrew Yang about food, and then he got into a whole thing about Donald Trump, and it became, do you think Donald Trump could run a mile? Which Yang said, no, I don't think he could run a mile.
Right.
And then it was kind of some jokes that maybe he should run a mile for the American people should be able to see that on TV.
He did say he'd pass out at the quarter-mile mark.
Yeah, and then he said, what is that guy, like 280?
Yeah.
So he did take some serious shots at Donald Trump's health. And it was funny because Donald Trump didn't respond, which I thought was interesting, because those were direct shots at Trump that he will almost always respond to.
Yes. Now, that is odd, because where do you come back here? You can't say, like, okay, yeah, can you even see if I ran that mile? Would you even be able to see me? He can't say that. Where do you go at this guy? You know what I mean? Like, how do you personally insult Andrew Yang? Maybe height. He did that with little Marco, but he can't use little Yang. He'd have to go Asian, and he can't do that. So he's almost handcuffed in how he insults this guy.
He would have to do like one of the old politicians did, like, well, I'm not going to take advantage of his inexperience. Like something clever like that. But Trump Trump doesn't really have that kind of defense.
That's not Pocahontas stuff.
And I think Trump is smart enough not to get into like a Twitter war or a troll war with younger people, because Trump is the best of the old generation.
Yes, he can kill Elizabeth Warren
and
Joe
younger
Biden.
Generation.
No,
any millennial will destroy him on Twitter.
It could be. Well, we haven't seen anybody go after him, but you're right.
But Yang would be a tough battle for him in a tweet battle, because Yang is quick too. He's not a dummy.
I would love for Trump to come back and say something like, "What did you find this out in a fortune cookie? Where did you get this?" You know what I mean? Or like, or what did Confucius say that I weigh 280? I mean, So, I got news for you though. If Yang keeps prodding, Trump will come back with something inevitably, but shit, everybody's scratching. Like all the comedy writers are like, "Hey, Donnie, I don't know what we can say to this guy. I mean, this guy, it's hard to go after this guy." So he's made himself a little more prominent as far as that goes. Then there was the crying incident, which you're not as big a fan of.
I felt like the crying thing was fake, and it just like hurts me to watch people do that. But I do think it was a real incident. I mean, I don't know if it was planned. It seemed,
to give a background on it,
but I've never seen like an Asian cry, so maybe I just don't know.
It is tough. Yeah, you Google that. You're not going to find a lot of YouTube videos on that one. But first of all, these things are staged, so that's number one. But I'm not sure with this guy, because one of the things I like about him is he's very genuine, in my opinion, I've noticed. So a woman stood up and talked about how she lost a child to this was a gun violence thing. This happened right off of the shootings, and
her other child watched the child be shot. She had like a brother and a sister.
Right.
So
and then,
that's pretty terrible.
So absolutely. So she's giving her personal experience, and by the way, she wasn't even crying, interestingly enough. So she's giving her experience, and then I don't know if you saw this, he immediately says, "Can I come give you a hug?" He walks down, hugs the woman. And, I thought it was also very genuine, because a lot of people don't go and do that. You know what I mean? And then he starts to reflect on his 2 children. He's got 2 young children. And he thought to himself, where the crying begins is, I'm picturing if this happened to my children. Mm-hmm. And, how would I deal with that? And it was a moment, and it's getting him up there.
It was a good TV moment, and it's on a bunch of good TV moments for him. He seems to have clarity about some things that really helps. I honestly got interested in Andrew Yang when he had a closeout speech in one of the debates, and he said, listen, if you're worried about global warming, guess what? It's too late. Move to higher ground. And that kind of just simple clarity, I was like, you know what? That's probably, honestly, as honest as you can get about global warming. And so that kind of got me interested in him. And then I went into
He was
his
very bold with that statement, by the way. That was a standout statement in that.
And that was
debate.
kind of the beginning of this kind of like outbreak of his, where he's kind of like busting out a little bit. And so then I started to look on his website, and I wanted to go through, what the hell is this guy's policy? And he has a bunch. And so I want to read a few to you, and then you tell me what you think about these too. Okay, ready? Democracy dollars. So this basically is every American gets $100 to invest in a political campaign. You get it every year, and you can use it, and if you don't use it, it goes away. It's a democracy dollar. But if we give every American $100, they can wash out the lobbyists' money 8-1. So we can't get the lobbyists out of government, he argues, but we can put money in our own hands and then wash their money out.
It's a brilliant idea.
The congressman would have to be beholden to the people now because we have more money to spend than the corporations. So I think that's good. For reasonable gun legislation with a perpetual gun buyback. So the gun people can keep selling them and we'll keep buying them back. Freedom dividend. Every citizen, no exceptions, no matter how rich, poor, or whatever you are, you get $1,000 a month. We're the richest country in the world. I think people are going to like that. Medicare for all. Focus on health, life, and life expectancy as well. And so more holistic stuff, taking care of people, finding out while they're sick. He's for net neutrality. He's for legalizing marijuana on the federal level. He says the post office should provide basic banking to the citizens. He's for regulating and legalizing cryptocurrency. He wants the NCAA to pay the athletes. He wants to get rid of the stupid penny. The penny is useless. He wants an algorithm trading to be a crime on Wall Street. So if you're using a computer to better the markets, guess what? You're going to jail.
Right, you're cheating.
Every cop in the country gets a camera. Election day would be a holiday. End to all gerrymandering, a fund for the government to fund journalism, and he wants to regulate artificial intelligence. Tell me there's anything that's not smart about that plan.
I got to tell you that's a very his progressive stance and what he's talking about is, and by the way, you didn't mention anything as far as anything green on there, but I know he's big on that.
Let me say one more too. This is the last one I had. I was having trouble reading it, but this is a really good one. He wants the government to give you an exact tax bill. So no more paying accountants, no more paying H&R Block, no more like funny business
he
or
wants
whatever.
them to figure it out and
they
bill
figure
you.
it out and either take it out of the paycheck the right time or send us a bill at the end of the time, but none of this bullshit like everybody fills out their own taxes. I think it's good.